So, what is coming up for you this week?
I told you. What has been coming up for me is getting content out of my head. The way I described it is putting manners on myself and capturing the essence of what I do and capturing the methods of what I do and attempting to put them in a way that others can engage with them and use them. And the joy of that would be to be able to monetize it as well. However, the first thing would be to get it out and put it in a usable format. That's what I'm looking at doing. And it's helping me to just clear my head as well. So I'm aware of the stuff that has me successful to the extent that I am. And I'd now like to leverage on some of that success to create other success. And as I'm doing that, show people how things are done. So part of what's come up for me has been things obviously like podcasts that I've thought of in the past, and I just haven't had the wherewithal to commit myself to giving the time to do it. Now I see I can. Things like webinars, things like putting courses together. I would have just thought absolutely, and there are things I must do, and I would have sat down at times and put away a day to actually put stuff around it, and then look at it and go, sweet divine God, when am I going to get another day to do all that again?
Yeah.
No, I just see that I can do it differently because I'm not traveling as much.
Yeah.
So even though my days are still filled, I can do it at the start of a morning. I can do it, build time in, which is what I've been doing. So I've done a storytelling course. I've done one part of this, the intro part of that, and that's been for the last 4 weeks. So for the next 4 weeks, I'll be doing another part of that. I've been doing an online course. I signed up to an online coach who is giving me all his material on how to go online and how to put your stuff online. That's fascinating. It's just rekindling all my sales stuff from 20 and 30 last 20 and 30 years and just putting it into the virtual model, which is great. So it's giving me good energy. So that's what's been coming up for me. A lot. So I've put a new hanger that I'm going to be working on for my website under the theme of hope. HOPE. H for heart, O for open, P for present, and E for energy. So everything I want to do is going to be heart-based and coming from the right place, but actually putting my heart into it. I want to be open to all the new things that are happening, the new ways of being, changes I have to make, open to possibility, open to potential, open to letting things go, open to taking things on. Present then is about being in the present and being mindful and not full of mind, more mind aware, just catching myself in the present. And I'm enjoying more and more of that. And, I want to bring some of the lessons, the simplicity of what I do out for that. And then because there's a huge industry that's grown up around mindfulness and meditation and all that goes with it. And most people are intimidated. Most people think they're not up for it. Most people think they just don't even want to be doing it. And yet more and more research is showing that even the simplest bits of it you do have dramatically positive effects on everything. So it'd be good to be bringing more people into that. And then the E for energy, and what you do to give yourself energy, what you eat to give yourself energy, the fuel you take, what you put into your mind to replenish your energy, how you rest your mind, and how you generally just find a good positive sense of state. And not positive in the sense that there's no negative, but positive in the sense of it is only the flip side of negative. So it's not to say everything's right all the time and everything's lovely all the time. It's actually to find the lovely in everything that's shite. So that's the energy and how you use it. And So I've been sharing things with you the last couple of weeks, the whole earthing video, and as a family we've been grounding and looking at grounding techniques for the last 20 years, and now the science is there to prove that grounding and earthing is a real energy thing. So bringing that into play. So that's what's been coming up for me, Brennan.
Very cool. I get a big sense that all that's happened now has allowed you the space to kind of. I mean, it's great to hear you're taking courses and storytelling courses. It sounds like from our last conversations, you're excited for this new chapter, and you're like very excited to learn new things and new ways of doing things, which is really cool. And I can imagine there's a lot of people, anybody who'd be watching this, have either felt that in the past or are feeling that now or feeling that happening. And it's cool to see at 58, 59 that you can learn new things. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can transform yourself. And I can feel the excitement off you when you're talking about it or thinking about it. And it's lovely to hear your brain working through all the stuff. I remember, I know for years and years you've been talking about, like, I'd love to write a book. I'd love to write a book, because you've dealt with hundreds, thousands of clients over the years. And I think books are fantastic, and books are a great way to get all your thoughts in one out there. And there's also other ways to do it. Like, these kind of conversations can be part of that. Courses can be part of that. Online videos, webinars can be part of that. And that can all be part of like the legacy that you leave, and all this stuff that you've learned over the last 60 years.
Yeah.
How to pass that on. And it's cool. I remember listening to a podcast called Startup, and the very first episode of the podcast was him having the idea of having a startup, a podcast company. And so the whole way through the podcast, every episode is actually him forming his business, which is creating a podcast company.
I've listened to that, yeah.
Brilliant. And then I was listening to it for a while, and they sold, I think they sold to Spotify or something for a couple of $100 million. And he was really taking a big risk, leaving his traditional radio job to go and start this podcast. And it was very meta, the podcast was him doing it. And I kind of see some similarities between us, because you and I have been talking about doing work together for years and years. And we have done courses, father-son courses. I've sat in on some leadership workshops with you, with CEOs and investors, and also with some of your bigger clients. So I feel like it's like in me, all the stuff that you've been teaching is like in my bones. But I would be very excited to help you get that out into the world. And selfishly as well, I'll get to learn a lot through this process. So, and it's no coincidence that I'm in the online course space, because I'll be able to take what I learned from dealing with my clients into this, so it does feel like there's a lot converging when you're talking about these different things. And, in the past when we've worked together, I would have gotten very frustrated with you, because like, just tell me what you want and I'll go do that. Whereas what you were saying, no, like, I actually want you to guide me, and I want you to say, take this on and run with it. But it's taken me 29 years to kind of learn enough to feel that I can bring something to the table. And that's why I'm very excited. And it's mad to think that we're halfway across the world and this is possible, which I'm so thankful for, because I knew I wanted to come to Vancouver and you're in Dublin or Wicklow. And I knew it was the right thing for me to do, but I also knew the right thing for me to do was to do, my calling was to do more of the work. Bless you. More of the work that type of work that you're doing, that's transforming people's lives. So I'm excited to be part of that shaping process for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And the biggest challenge for me has been to get out of my own way. And that's the biggest part. So even when you say transforming people's lives, Um, I know I'm a facilitator in doing that. So others have no challenge in coming out and saying that's what we do. We transform people's lives. I would have had a healthy dose of Irish backwardness about that. And who am I to be doing that? And who am I to say that? And I wouldn't even, so even still, that wouldn't sit well with me that I do that. However, I know that because of what I've been through, because of what I've learned from people, because of what I can share about how others who are successful in different areas can do things and do things. That's what can be of value.
Yeah, I mean, transforming people's lives is almost like a North American packaged version of it. Because I know from talking to you so many times, you're a magpie and you will take things from Oprah, Tony Robbins, uh, John Spillane, Christy Moore, like from the guy down the street. You'll take things and lessons from everywhere, and then when you're dealing with your clients, you're only like a conduit, or you facilitate the challenges they have with maybe the person they need to be introduced to, or some of the lessons that you've learned, and it almost like comes through you. And I write poetry. That's one of my creative outlets, and it's something I feel coming up in me again to write more. It's been a couple of years since I've really delved into it, but I remember reading about a poet and how the process, and I've heard this from a few different sources. Like when you're writing a novel, people say you write 9 to 5, you sit down, every day it's the routine. The likes of Roald Dahl has his little house out the back of his garden, little shomra that he goes and he writes in, and he has a routine. Whereas poetry, I heard the analogy before that poetry is like there's a gust of wind that comes, and you need to be ready to capture that when it comes. And there's a similarity I see there with you, with your clients. They come to you and it's not I'm Ian Kingston, this big, ego person that's going to transform your life. It's more, I can be the connector between you and what's going on for you, and all the things that I've come across in my life. So it's not about I'm Ian Kingston, the transformer. It's let me see where I can connect the dots for you, or help you connect the dots for yourself.
Absolutely. It's perfect. And so I just want to get more of that out in a formatted way that others can access.
Yeah, and I can feel that from you, because with I hear this with coaches every day that are trying to make online courses. You can only reach so many people with your amount of time. And I remember we went on a ski trip before, and there was loads of lads on the ski trip, all kind of your age. Like I was the youngest by a long way, and it was your friends' ski trip. And I remember one guy saying to me, he had a couple of bike shops, and he was saying, like, when I go on holidays, like I'm still earning, like the business is running. Whereas when you're a coach or a consultant or a contractor, your time is what's of value. And that's great because you can give a lot of value to people, give your whole self to your job, but you're only going to be able to reach a certain amount of people doing one-to-one or group sessions. When you have some sort of medium, whether it be video, courses, books, that's where then you can reach way more people. And I'm excited to work with you to help do that. Like a big inspiration for me was Chris Mackey, the Australian psychologist, who's got a lot of work on trauma, and his son interviews him doing podcasts. And it's probably more, I would say, polished than what we are. But I'm excited for us to be a bit more rough around the edges, and a bit more get personal and get real about it. Not that they're not, but I think that's going to be our style and what suits us. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. What's been coming up for you?
Taking time off has been coming up for me. Had a lovely trip at the weekend over to Tofino, which is on the west coast of Vancouver Island in British Columbia in Canada, like a very far point on the Pacific Ocean. And just I was on the beach surfing, was staying with 8 or 9 friends, and it was just such a great time. I brought my laptop, but I didn't open it for the weekend, and I'm kind of proud of myself that I didn't. Like, I've got a lot of stuff to do today and tomorrow, but just it was so lovely to get time doing stuff that I love. And I do like the work I do, but at the end of the day, I'm in my room in front of a screen all day, which no matter how successful I will be doing this, that's not where I want the majority of my time and energy to be going necessarily. I want it to be more balanced. So it was a great weekend, and I've got a lot more time off booked as well. And that kind of balance and what's it all for if you're not going to be enjoying yourself while you're doing it has been coming up for me a lot. And I'm lucky to be in British Columbia. It seems like there's a national holiday every month. Got BC Day on Wednesday, British Columbia Day, so a day off, and probably go to the beach for the day and play some spike ball, this new game that I'm involved in. So I've never been busier in terms of my own day-to-day job, selling online course software, helping my girlfriend's parents with their online courses, and I have a client that I'm helping coach in sales. He's a founder of a startup, and we're starting this endeavor where we're going to do weekly calls. But I want there to be balance in my life where I can go and enjoy those things while we do it. I have no interest in doing this for 3 years, smashing it, and then relaxing. It's like, no, I want the best of both worlds. And I remember Lisa's parents, they're very successful. They travel 300 days out of the year, giving talks to occupational therapists and healthcare professionals all over the world. And I've said to them, I want to be as successful as you are, but I don't want to work as much as you do. So I want to be as successful, if not more successful than you, and work less. And that may sound naive, may sound arrogant, but we talked a lot about the law of attraction over the weekend, and that's with friends that I was in high school with, real lads, and all of them have read the book and completely follow it. And I just thought, geez, like, of all people, I thought, like, these are my mates who I get on really well with, really close to, but I never would have thought that they all would be focusing on their mindset. You know, the guys in their late 20s who play sports and work in sales jobs, and they're like, yeah, we think law of attraction changed all of our lives and we're big advocates for it. And I thought, Jesus, you know, I've never you know, I almost would have painted them with the brush and not engaged with that type of conversation, because I would have kind of presumed they weren't into it, which is something that I need to learn to step up and speak about what I'm interested in, because I'll probably find there's way more people out there interested in this type of thing. So the balance.
That's the essence of the law of attraction. So if you go back to my hope model, like, I hear exactly what you're saying, and it's like, I only want to be working with people who are heartfelt, who are in their heart space, to the extent that, like, they're honest, they're authentic, and they're doing things for the right reason. They're driven. They want to make money. They want to shoot the stars out. All of that coming from the right place. So if I am with people where I just physically can't talk about stuff like that, I can't bring up energy, can't bring up being present, that I have no interest in. So my lesson in listening to you, the lesson for me is really simple, is like, just live it.
Yeah. And I was wondering where you were going with that, but yeah, the lesson is talk about it, and don't be afraid if people accept it or not, because the right type of people will come around you that are into it.
And that's the lesson for this. Same thing. It's exactly the same thing. That's what I started the conversation with. Like, you know, my biggest challenge was to get out of my own way, and not be thinking of the immediate faces in front of me, who I know or who I don't know, people who aren't in my life right now, but who are in the periphery of my life, people who I might not have seen for a year or 5 years.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's just mental what you're saying, because a friend of mine who facilitated a poetry weekend workshop that I did a couple of years ago, I had a call with him recently, and he's from, geez, where is he from again? He's from, is it the Liberties? He's from a part of Dublin City that would be considered very working class, and would be, what the way he described it was, people love to pull each other down. And I think that's an Irish thing in general. Um, but it's, he was saying that especially people in his community, like if you're following rules or you're trying to get on in life, you're almost accepting and following the system, and the system has done very badly for these people. These people have been hurt by the system, whether it's not, not getting welfare, not getting healthcare. And so if you try and get on, you're almost becoming one of them. And what he said to me just very clearly was like, I'm just not going to put it on my personal Facebook. I've just created an account that I've been managing for the last couple of years, and everything is going to go there. And that's my poetry channel. And that's who I am for when I'm posting there, is I'm the poet. And the people that who think of me in the past and whatever, when they see that, Colin Keegan poetry, and he said, I want to be fully backing myself to posting my poetry and my work, because I'm a legitimate artist. And he's very well known in Dublin, very well known in Ireland, both as a poet himself and as a facilitator. And I think we all feel a bit of that. And I think Irish people particularly have a bit of that. Who does he think he is? And even at the weekend, someone mentioned, yeah, sure, man's mad. Like, sure, he's got his own YouTube channel. Like, it's considered, you'd be a bit mad to be, or like friends of mine, yeah, no, I don't follow them on Instagram because they talk into the camera as if they have fans. I just block them straight away. There's a real sense of, sure, who does he think he is, or who do they think they are, in Irish culture. Now, North American culture can also be bad the opposite way. Everybody's a fucking influencer. Everybody's trying to be famous and make it. So hopefully we can kind of get the balance between the two. And yeah. So that's what I'm excited for this. And I know the first couple of videos of this are going to be us talking about what we're doing, but I think that's okay. I think through that, people might get some learnings, oh Jesus, I was playing small, or I was not putting myself out there. And I think the process of us doing this will help other people to do the same in their own lives. And whether that's singing karaoke that they've never done before, they've always wanted to, or singing a song in an Irish session, or speaking up at a family dinner, or speaking up in their team meeting and work. I think that's what I'm excited for this, is friends of mine or people I know or people I don't know watching it and just getting that little chink going, oh, that makes complete sense. I relate to that. How do I bring that into my own life? And I think that's the essence of what we're trying to do, is capture that when we're coaching our clients, capture that and be able to give it to a lot more people, because we've benefited from the likes of the law of attraction, the Tony Robbinses, the whoever. So I just want to pass that on, because I know there's a lot of people struggling or have limiting beliefs, and I think us doing this is our way of getting out of our limiting beliefs and also then show an example for other people.
Yeah. That's what I said earlier about living it. It is a sense of practicing what you preach, even though we don't intend to preach. But if you have a guiding manifesto, well, then you live in your manifesto.
Yeah.
How can I see it in action? So that's pretty much what I would say to anyone in any walk of life, in leadership, in business or setting up their own business or leading teams, is like, we follow the leader and we follow their example. So do as I do, not as I say.
Well, I heard a great thing. It was like at the weekend, kids pick up a lot more than they've been taught. Something to that effect. It's like, yeah, like, you know, the dad saying, don't be, get off your phone, stop looking at your phone, and then doing that. Like, what the kids actually picking up on is they pick up on who the person is. They don't pick up on what they're saying. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Which is why I have no challenge in sharing, where I'm coming to with this. And, it's all about hope, isn't it? It's like, it's amazing. I was totally chillaxing yesterday morning, and I was using at the time to go through Facebook. And like, I would go through Facebook maybe twice a week, and it could be for half an hour, it could be for 5 minutes. But yesterday it was for half an hour because I could. And I got on a thread of American Idol. And it's a program I wouldn't watch, but I'm fully aware of it. And there was a lady on, a bodybuilder. And she's like 76 or something. And of course she walked out and they were like, oh my sweet God. And like, but the gas thing was like, I didn't even have to go through watching her routine. She said, like, when did you start this? So what age are you? She says, what age do you think I am? And I said, like, okay, right, in your 50s, she said, like, 76 or 77 or something. It's like, oh my God. She said, I started bodybuilding when I was 59.
Jeez.
And it's just, just like, wow, when is it the time to start? So there was a woman at 59 having reared her children, having had her family in this, and the backstory of it is her with her kids and her husband and their lives and a whole lot. And then she takes on this whole new mad world. And I mean, who'd be into bodybuilding? That's a totally different thing. But where you can bring yourself. And that's what I'm excited about. This is like, where we can bring ourselves and add zest and energy to what we're doing. And for me, the buzz in doing it with you and being involved with you and collaborating with you and, being part, co-creating stuff is just a dream come true.
Isn't it gas that you're 59 tomorrow and you watch that Facebook video? It's gas the way things come up in front of us at certain times. And whenever I was backpacking or traveling, especially walking the Camino, you get those signs a lot. And people say, like, is this a magical place? I had blisters all over my feet one day and I was just kept walking. But after the 6 or 7, 8 hours of hiking or walking, I couldn't walk anymore. My feet were destroyed. And this woman stopped to help me. She's a nurse. And we walked into the town. I said, I just would love some sandals that I could walk in that have more space for my toes rather than these big, hefty hiking boots. And as I wasn't even finished my sentence, and I was right here, there was a store with sandals for hiking. And I went in, bought a pair, and I wore them for the next, couple of 100 kilometers as for the next few weeks of the walk. And I reckon that those type of signs are there for us all the time. But sometimes when you're traveling or backpacking, you're just more open to getting the message because you're on a trip and you're seeing and experiencing everything. Whereas sometimes in our day to day, we're going through the motions. So that's very nice that you got that message just the day before your 59th birthday, I think.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I was saying earlier about the whole part of being aware and awareness. Like, I've spent so much of my life being unconscious, and not because I've been an absolute dud or that, but that's just going at a pace and belting through stuff and just getting it done. And a lot of the time not knowing what you were getting done or missing lots of the signals as you were getting it done. So now it's just about breathing a bit more and taking it in as you go there, and allowing myself to experience more and hopefully showing others then how they can. So it's a way of being in service, and without it again sounding too mushy, like, but it's rather than telling someone what to do, it's showing them what they can do. It's up to them then if they want to take it and use it. And you just don't know. I had I had young Jack Kavanagh on with a group last week, and like it's amazing to hear what people are taking from it in all sorts of different ways. So one person would grasp one part of the story and think that was the amazing piece, and it's like every story, someone else that they had heard it, but that actually went over their head because the piece that they were transfixed with was this piece. And it's how we make it all personal to ourselves and how we relate it in. So go on, I'll come up for you.
Yeah, I remember it's gas that you can see that there's something when over Zoom, it's great. And like it was cool to see when we do the group meetings that you're still able to facilitate and pick out a screen and something's coming up for somebody. So there's hope for coaches and facilitators out there, I think, that you can do that. I remember doing the Earth Song. No, I went to a festival. I can't remember the name of it, and it was kind of an alternative eco type festival, and they had a storyteller, like a professional storyteller, who's now a professor in some North American university, I think Berkeley or something. And he told a story, and this guy collects stories from all over the world, and it was an Eastern European story, and it was about a daughter and a father, and she runs into the forest and gets her arm cut off, and it's just this whole big kind of odyssey. And the way he tells it, he'd be making the noises, and he would sometimes stop the story and say, do you know when you're making a cup of tea and you burn your hand? Well, this is what it felt like for her. Like, it was so engaging the way he told it. And afterwards, he actually did an interview with someone, like straight after, to the same audience. And he was saying that storytelling is who we are as humans. It's how we get, not, movies, TV shows, books, podcasts. Story is how we make sense of the world often. And how when he tells these big stories, he also is like a conduit for the story, and it's his job to do the best job to make it, to bring someone into that story. But there might be a daughter listening who relates to the relationship with her father, or there might be a father who then can understand the guilt of treating his daughter that way, or there's a brother who might understand his sister more. And there was maybe 300 or 400 people in that audience, and everybody's hearing the same story, but different people are getting the lesson that they need from that story. And it was powerful. And I still remember the feeling of listening to that story. I was like a kid, I was 23, 24, maybe a bit younger, but I felt like a kid at bedtime in the story, sitting down with my eyes closed, just listening. And, around us, there was kids listening, there was adults listening, teenagers, people from all walks of life. And it blew me away. So when you mentioned Jack Kavanagh, who would be great to interview on this, actually.
Oh, I have him down tomorrow.
Great.
He's coming down to me Wednesday. So yeah, I've told him that we'll have him on this, and he'd be thrilled. And the part of what we do then, and part of the gift of bringing story to life, is being able to bring someone through their story as well. So it's knowing the kind of questions to ask. So that's what I was doing with Jack on Wednesday. So I'd ask him a question like, how did your mom react? And he would then go into story, and he's fabulously articulate and just beautifully engaging. But then I was talking to someone today who was in bits after his story, who during the story, when I asked him what was bubbling up from, he couldn't talk. And he said, like, there's just too much going on, and and then he chatted and he talked. But he was telling me today, which is like 5 days later, that what went on from was that, just as you explained, he forgot about Jack and what Jack was going through, and he was living the experience of a dad. So he was the dad on the plane going over with his mum. He was the dad sitting next to his mum and him in the bed, and he was the best mate, who was the first guy who came into the bedroom because he had an experience like that. he had gone through something with his own son. So he was reliving parts of that. And it was going on from all different levels.
Mm.
And just to your point, because he was grabbing parts of the story, he was like, so one is the storytelling, and then the other is the facilitating.
Mm.
So a huge part of what I do is facilitate, and what I saw you doing in your poetry circle, the circle sessions, was facilitating. So you could brilliantly tell your own poem, and you were a master at poetry and the spoken word. What you did phenomenally though is you gave space for others to come through, and you brought the best out of people in a way that not many people can. And that's part of what I'm learning about me as well. I know that that's how I hold group, that's what I do, and I just want to be able to put that into languaging and words to show others how to come into that space.
Well,
rather than be a Billy Big Balls who has the space, if that makes sense.
exactly. And why I think it would be great to get people on here and interview them and show anybody that's listening examples of great questions to ask to facilitate learnings for people. And we could even do little deconstructions of why you asked this question here and what you were seeing this coming up for this audience member, and so why you asked that question. And really then this whole thing isn't about Ian Kingston, the best facilitator in the land. It's about, these are things that I've learned through my career that now you can use if you're a salesperson asking the right questions, or if you're a daughter and you want to understand more about your parents, what you ask, or if you're a parent asking your kid a question. And that's what this is going to be about, I think, is tools for life, you know, like your TEDx talk, toolbox, your toolbox for life. So what you mentioned before we started recording was lessons from. So lessons from working with CEOs, lessons from working with parents, lessons from working with teenagers, lessons from facilitating large groups. I think that's going to be a great anchor and just one aspect of what we do.
And I think that's what I was looking at for the podcast. So the theme for these webcasts could be, and I had it as you said it earlier, and I'm after forgetting what I put my hand on and my head on and my finger to when you were saying it. It's so you were talking about interviewing Jack and good questions, and interviewing others, not about me, the facilitator. Yeah, it's about crafting. So I'd like these sessions to be about looking at the craft of facilitating, the craft of coaching, the craft of living, and picking themes as we go, whether it's through an interview or, you know, so someone tunes in and, you know, we'd have to get tighter on that, I suppose, so they know what they're tuning into or what they get attracted to. But
I get you. Like my friend builds woodwork. He builds his own tables and desks to draw his desk and his bookshelf, and he watches YouTubers who train how to cut the wood and how to shape the wood and how to join the wood together. Similarly, these conversations can be for anybody where conversations are a big part of what they do. And how can you use the tools that we've learned to get the most out of your conversations, whether you're a salesperson, a leader, a manager, a coach, a parent. That can be what this is. Because remember when we were in the car that day in Dublin, when I was back home from traveling for a few months and I was doing a bit of shadowing your work, and you said, like, just think of me as a woodworker. And when we're in the facilitation room with 15 people and I'm, you know, facilitating the session and calling different people out and asking different people to speak at different times, watch how I notice someone's body language and notice them shift in a chair, how it might be a good time to call on them or to check in with them, or to see how when someone else is saying something, how it's landing with the rest of the room. And I think that would be a good focus for these conversations, is showing someone how you can be a craft in whatever conversations they're having in their life. And let's park it here, because I feel like we're kind of time-wise, we're well over, but I think it's a good conversation. And let's, next week, we can again bring up whatever's coming up for us. But I think with each conversation, we're getting more and more aligned to what we want to achieve out of these. And again, it's going to be useful for people to even listen to these conversations, because they'll see how we're coming to our learnings together. So how do you feel about that?
I feel that's fantastic. Yeah, and that's been really helpful. I have the title for what these conversations will be.
Go on.
Conversations that craft life.
I like it. I like it.